All right, everybody, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be discussing things will only be as good as you want them to be. If you're an OG subscriber of the channel, make sure you like the video. And if you're new here and you like what I'm saying, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like the video. But other than that, let's go ahead and dive right in. Your life will only be as good as you want it to be. If you're in a good situation, a mid situation, or a bad situation, understand it's simply because you've programmed your life to put yourself in that situation. Now, when I was going through it, when I was in really bad situations, I used to get so pissed off when I heard things like that, because it was like, bro, why in the world would I personally choose to be in a messed up situation, in a situation that I can't get out of, in bad situations? Why would I do that? I'm not doing that. I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, I want to be in great situation. I want to be in great situations, but nothing is changing and nothing is happening. Little did I know, little did I realize it was simply because I was following the script of the story that I programmed into my life. And so many other people don't even realize that they're in a story that was either fed to them by somebody else, or because of their trauma, their self-esteem, their beliefs, they're putting themselves in these jacked up stories and playing the character who gets the butt end of the stick. And so let me help you not only become aware of the story that you're in, but also if you're in a bad situation, to ultimately change the story that you're in. So let me tell you how exactly people fall for this trap. One of the things that a lot of people do is they watch TV shows, they watch movies, maybe even advertisements, right? Some type of marketing. And what they do is they assimilate themselves with a certain character. We all do this, right? If you ever watch something like The Peaky Blinders, if you ever watch something like any type of show, you're going to have like your favorite characters. And usually these are your favorite characters for one or two reasons. One, you can relate to this character the most. They're most likely to do the same actions that you would. Or two, you simply want to be that character, or you want certain characteristics of that character. You admire them. And so you start to act like them, talk like them, things of that nature. You guys can see this all the time, right? Where like girls will watch like Grey's Anatomy and all of a sudden they want to be doctors. You know, some people will watch Suits and all of a sudden they think, you know, I'd be a pretty good lawyer. You know what I mean? It's like every guy watches like action movies and thinks he can fight. You guys get what I'm saying? We watch UFC and we're like, yeah, bro, just bend your elbow that way, bro. I can do that. Or we watch professional footballers and like, how is he not running through that big hole? How, you know what I'm saying? It's because we're imagining ourselves like, bro, if we were in that situation, we would do this, that, and the third. Okay, that's all fun and games. But it's very dangerous, because when you assimilate yourself to these characters, what you're doing is you're asking for their life and you're asking for their lifestyle. That's good if you were that person. However, if you're not that person, if you're not that character, what happens is you have to go through character development. A lot of people don't think about that. And what character development is simply developing the traits of that character. So again, some people are like very like organized, right? But a reason why they were very organized was maybe because they had like severe childhood trauma, to where if they weren't organized, really bad things would happen. And because they grew up with that, they're like, you know what? I'm going to be super organized. I'm super organized. So when you see them, all you see is that they're super organized. You're like, man, I wish I was like them. And then you start to tell this story of like yourself of like, oh, I'm a super organized individual like this person. So then the Rubik's Cube that is your complicated life starts to bring up pathways and send you on this journey of downright trauma, because it's trying to get you to the same level that he was at or she was at, to where you need that trauma so you could be more organized as well, right? The best way to relate this to the average person is most men love underdog stories. We love underdog stories. And if you don't know what an underdog story is, it's simply like somebody was once at this point, they've fallen off, they've given up hope, something happened to them, they've hit rock bottom, the girl left them, things of that nature. They got a heartbroken, whatever. And then they're crawling. They say one day is enough. And they wake up and they're super disciplined and they're super on it. And they're in this training arc and they're doing their montage. And then, they start making good money, or they start fighting and they win the championship and everybody's like, oh, right. A lot of guys love those type of stories. And so what they do is they mimic their lives around being an underdog. And a lot of guys don't really understand that they're in this trap. And the best way that you can understand that if you're in this trap is because most guys get trapped in the part where you lose everything. You're constantly broke. You're constantly losing things. You're constantly not getting a girlfriend, or you're getting heartbroken by girls. You're constantly in and out of the gym, but not as much as you could. You're not as disciplined. And what you're doing is you're suffering through that this whole time, and you're waiting for that moment to where you finally can say, you know what, I'm done. I'm getting into it. Because again, that's a part of the story. But a lot of guys don't know how to access that point. You know what I'm saying? And so what that leaves them is they're trapped in this, the part of the story to where they're at the rock bottom. And let me tell you something about rock bottom. It's very hard to climb yourself out of, which is why it's so admirable, which is why we like watching it, because we understand how difficult it can be to lose all your money, lose your girl, be heartbroken, your family not talk to you, your friends betray you, and now you're by yourself, and one day you wake up, you're like, I'm gonna do it, right? That's amazing. That's why it makes a good story. But the average person, that doesn't happen for them, right? That's like a 1 in maybe 100,000, maybe a million type of situation. And so if you're placing yourself in that story and you're not the character, you're not capable of doing those same things, the only thing that you're going to be doing is suffering the entire time. And so what the mindset shift that needs to happen for you as a man, especially as a leader of your life, if you choose to be that, is you have to start creating your own stories. And listen, can this get very complicated? Yes. But can this be very simple as well? Also, yes. And this mindset, when you make this mindset, you're shifting from somebody who's chasing something to somebody who's attracting something. Now, you may have heard of this concept before. It's like, bro, don't chase, you're going to attract, right? A lot of girls will say this too. However, the way that we're going to use it is simply by understanding and then doing the things correctly so we can actually attract the things that we want in our life. Okay. And so what does that look like? First things first is you have to, what I call, unlearn and relearn. So you have to start reflecting on your life. This is why having a journal is incredibly important, because what you want to do is you want to look at the last 3 months, the last 6 months, the last year, the last 2 years, and you want to start to identify common issues and problems that you're having in your life. Maybe you're the type of guy who never has money. Maybe you're the type of guy who can never hold a job. Maybe you're the type of guy who can't hold relationships for a long time. Maybe you're the type of guy who you go to the gym for a period of time, but then you fall off drastically, right? You have to identify certain problems. And then when you identify certain problems, you have to ask yourself, where does this come from and what am I supposed to learn from it? So let me give you guys an example. One of the things that I've done in my life was I procrastinated like a lot. And the reason why I procrastinated was because I was good enough to get away with it. And I know a lot of you guys are the same way, right? We're procrastinators. However, we're good enough to get away with it. So it's not that big of a deal. But at the same time, deep down, we know that it's like, bro, it's like, I don't even want to have to go through that anymore. I should just do it when I have the time, and then everything is going to work out better. Because listen, as the procrastination king back when I was like in high school and slightly college, bro, it's like I can get away with it, but deep down I know, bro, it's always felt better if I just did everything when I was supposed to and had plenty of time left over, instead of crunching and the time clock running out and things of that nature. So again, it's like I kept running into this problem: procrastination. And I'm thinking, like, why am I procrastinating? Like, why is it so difficult for me to procrastinate? And I come off some reasons. I'll share them with you. I'll be transparent with you guys. One of the reasons was simply because I thought it was boring. I thought going from, like being on time, being disciplined, doing the work, I just felt like that whole process was boring. Yes, it's rewarding, but it's not as stimulating as being, waiting to that last minute, the timer's going to zero and you're rushing and you're doing the things, right? It doesn't compare to that. And so I had to recognize that within myself. And once I recognized that within myself, I started having I shouldn't say I would say convince, right? I use the term like sell yourself or convince yourself. If I'm being dramatic, I'll say brainwash yourself. But it's more so as logically understanding that the one way is better than the other, and then emotionally understanding that one way is better than the other, right? So I can logically do that, but emotionally I was still holding myself back. And I was like, why am I emotionally holding myself back? And I realized that when I was younger, my family member would constantly talk to me and tell me like, oh, you're a procrastinator, you're a procrastinator, you're a procrastinator, right? And I'm sure it wasn't done out of malice, but every time they would catch me in like a procrastination situation, they would say, oh, of course you're going to do that because you're a procrastinator. And so what they were doing was they were training me, my conscious, my subconscious, and my unconscious, that the character of who I am is a procrastinator. And when I found that out, when I was reflecting, I found that out. It was so deep that I had to do the process of what I call unlearn and relearn. Unlearn and relearn. I got this when I was studying neurology, which is the study of the brain, right? And what I realized is you can't take something away from the brain unless you're giving something in return. So in this case, I had the identity of being a procrastinator. So I had to take that away and then replace it with something else. Now, when I first started doing this, I would usually use extremes. I was like, I'm not a procrastinator. I'm the person who does it every single time, 100% you know what I'm saying? I would do things like that. And of course I would run into problems like that. But now as I get older, I just realized that, listen, bro, he's like, you don't have to be a procrastinator, but you also don't have to be like the guy who does everything 100% of the time. Of course, we would want to work to that point, but it's like, let's start with instead of procrastinating, we at least start doing it 5 minutes. You know what I'm saying? Like whatever you have to do to play around with it to help you get to that point, that's what is needed. But the whole overall process is simply understanding that you're adopting this character. You understand? And so this is where it starts to get a little bit bigger, right? Because you have to ask yourself, if what characters do you know, whether you've seen it in movies, because again, your brain is using reference points. So whether you've seen it in movies, you've seen it in TV shows, you've seen it in real life, you've seen in video games, whatever. Are procrastinators usually winners or are they usually losers? You understand? And that's what the things you have to ask yourself. Now, of course, there may be like, like oh, he's a procrastinator, but he's a genius. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about on average. On average, procrastinators aren't winners, they're losers. And so what am I doing? Whatever story that I decide to place onto myself, understand I'm already acting as if I'm in a losing position because of the character that I'm choosing to be. Does that make sense? And so now, in order for you to what I like to call dominate life or crush life, or if I'm being, just like a regular guy, it's like if I'm attracting the life that I want, one, I have to create the story, okay, which isn't complicated. Make it very simple. Whatever it is that you're trying to obtain, right? You have to create some type of short story about it. For most guys that can understand this, is if we're talking about girls. You know what? Let's not talk about girls. Let's use career, okay? So if we're talking about a career, and it's like, I'm the type of, in this story, I'm the guy who starts off at the what do they call it, entry level, and then I get my skills up, and then I become the intermediate, or whatever they call it, mid-level, and then after a year or two, I'm doing so well that I could be a senior level or whatever, right? Now, again, that's the story. And so because of that story, it's like who is the type of person, the type of character that is able to get into entry level and then work on his skills to then go to mid level. That guy has to be pretty good at his job, right? That guy has to have a level of seriousness about his career, right? And so boom, now all I have to do is align myself with that character. Does this character read professional development books? I'm sure he does. Let me go ahead and buy one of those. Is this type of person talks to their management and lets their management know, like, hey, look, I'm at this job because I want to level up. I want to get to that next level. What does it take? What's the game plan, right? Is he the type of guy to do that? Yeah, he's the type of guy to do that. Now, again, I'm saying these things and like, yeah, it sounds easy just saying it, but in real life, it's like, bro, that can be kind of difficult. It's like, how many of you guys have went to your job and asked like, hey, I'm looking to make more money or to move up. What does that take? Have you guys ever had that conversation with your boss? And a lot of guys don't, because one, they're scared, and two, but again, it's understanding that bro, which character do you want to be? Are you the character that has that conversation, who goes towards his goals? Or are you going to be the character that is scared and is going to be the character that's scared and stays in the same spot his whole life? You get what I'm saying? So that's ultimately what it takes. Whatever story that you're going to place onto yourself, you have to make sure that, one, you have the correct story, one that makes sense, and then two, you have to make sure that you're the character that has the winning characteristics. Because what happens is, if you create the story, right, and then you claim to be this character, all that's going to happen is you're going to be given opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to showcase the world, God, universe, whatever you believe in, that you are this individual. And if you're constantly failing and failing and failing, you're going to have to repeat that level over and over and over again. I know there's some of you guys out there that sometimes you feel like you're going through life and then there's like this deja vu type of moment to where it's like, bro, I've been here before. And that's simply because you fail at that level and you have to do it all over again, right? Because again, you have to, it's like most people don't understand the story that they're in. And so they're stuck in this loop going over and over and over again. I've met people, they say, oh, nothing good ever happens in my life. And it's like, yeah, because first of all, they don't even understand the story that they're in. But second of all, is because the opportunities that are coming their way for them to change, to get out of their situation, they're failing. And so you have to redo it over and over and over again. So just to recap, just to reiterate, the first one is you have to develop this. First of all, you have to become aware of the story that you're currently in. Okay. And then we have to change. You can't just be like, okay, I'm in a billionaire story. You know what I mean? Which is a horrible story, by the way. I wouldn't suggest that. But it's just like, you can't just flip flop. You have to understand where you're at. That way you can make the appropriate changes at the appropriate times. Does that make sense? So again, create the story. And if you have trouble with this, bro, just go talk to ChatGPT and have it do it for you. Okay. Trust me, it's a lot easier that way. So it's like, create that story and then ask yourself, who is the winning character in that story? And then you have to compare yourself of where you are now to who you're trying to be, which is that winning character. And you have to assess, like, okay, what does that winning character do that I don't do? The winning character is not a procrastinator. The winning character invests in himself. The winning character does XYZ. And so the more that you're able to change your actions to become this winning character, you're going to start to realize that the world around you is going to start treating you like a winner. Now, this type of things that you can't, I'm sure a lot of you guys believe me just because of my track record and the things I've helped you do. But for my new people out there, you're not really going to believe me on this type of stuff until you're actually doing it and you're in the middle of it and you're feeling what it feels like to be a winner. But trust me when I say, from my years of experience of personally practicing and doing these things, that these work. And the students that I've had that have done these things and they worked for them too. Okay. So that's ultimately what this talk is about. So we understand the story that we're in, and then we have to unlearn the psychological things that have been placed into us, right? And you have to be very careful. And the best way to trigger these things is to just talk about the things that you want. It's like, bro, it's like, I ask you guys, I'm like, do you guys want a girlfriend? And you're like, yeah. But most guys, they don't just say yeah, they say yeah, but. And then they give me some bullshit excuse or whatever type of program defense that they have of why they can't get the thing that they want. And I need you to understand that you have to get rid of that. You understand what I'm saying? Because what you're doing is you're fighting for the opposite team. You're fighting for a loser position. You understand that, right? Like, guys are like, oh, I can't get girls, or I can't get a job because of this. And I'm like, congratulations. What you've done is you've fought for a losing position. You're not fighting for a winning position. You're not fighting for I'll do whatever it takes position, okay? Because those are where the winners are at. And so again, it's just about growing up, being a man, and recognizing that, okay, let me just take this thing a little bit more serious. And the best way you can do that is by, one, writing things down, because the mind forgets and paper always remembers, right? So the best thing you can do is write things down and get organized in your life. Ask yourself, what story are you constantly telling yourself? And then start to unlearn that story and change the story and becoming the winner of the story by changing your habits. So yeah, that's gonna be today's video. I hope this helped you a lot. Like the video if you like the video. If you're new here, subscribe. For my OGs, let me know down in the comments if you made it this far. If you made it this far, type in "I'm here," and I wish the best for you guys. And I'll see you guys in the next video. All right, peace out.